Well, hello and welcome to this edition of our Limitless Live. I'm super excited to be with you again today with another fabulous fellow room tilter. We are going to be talking about authenticity during this Workplace Wednesday. And I just can't imagine having this conversation with anyone else right now because this lady has been showing us how to be authentic through vulnerability and transparency in some of her posts recently. And I'm super inspired about who she is, what she does, and how she does it. So let's bring on my fellow room tilter, Coach Krista Ryan.
Hello, hello, hello. Super excited to be here, Karla, with you and with all of you in our orbit, in our space, in this room. This topic is very near and dear to my heart. Absolutely. Authenticity. We're going to be talking about how to be authentic, what it looks like, especially in the workplace where
Mm-hmm.
we're supposed to show up and be a description or job description. We're supposed to have this label and title and perform as such. How do we remain authentic to ourselves so that we can be our best self all
Love
day
it.
long? All day
Love
long.
it.
Super excited, Karla.
So very quickly, Lane's already in the chat. All right. He is ready to go. And he says, Happy National Hot Dog Day. All right. Like, if that's not a little bit of a peek into who he really is in the vein and theme of authenticity, I don't know what is. And it's
Absolutely.
kind of weird that I was thinking about hot dogs in the shower as I was preparing for this live. Okay. And I think I was doing I was doing that because I'm with kids all week. We're
Yeah.
doing a vacation Bible school in upstate New York, which is why I'm out here in this beautiful nature. And hot dogs was the hit on day one.
There you
Um,
go.
I did not touch them. You know, I'm really not into the nitrates and nitrites, right? And then I started daydreaming about how I could create my own recipe. Right. But I'm not going to, that's weirdly awesome, he says.
That is amazing. And
Yeah,
I love how you're creating your own hot dog. Like
yeah, yeah. And I'm definitely not looking down on anyone who's enjoying a good hot dog on National Hot Dog Day. Because I've definitely eaten them within the last year.
yeah.
Um, yeah, that's that's
I didn't know it was National Hot Dog Day. And
I didn't either.
we're going from here to Costco to stock up on all the goods, including hot dogs for a lake trip this weekend. So now when I'm eating my hot dogs, I'm going to be thinking of Karla, you, and Lane. I'll be like, okay, I'm indulging on these hot dogs, and I'm thinking of both of you.
I love it. Well, thank you, Lane, for keeping us current. Love it very much.
Yeah,
So, as we approach this conversation about being in the workplace, right, and nailing it on Workplace Wednesday, I really thought a conversation about authenticity in the workplace was warranted. And there are just a couple things that come to mind that have propelled me in thinking about that. One of them is that the Texas governor just signed the Crown Act in Texas, right? So this is something that's kind of been bubbling up across the United States for a few years now. But here it is, sort of back in the headlines. And this is not a political conversation. It's just the fact that that piece of legislation is about protecting people to be able to wear their hair the way that it grows out of their head,
yeah,
and to specifically not be able to discriminate against people on the basis of how they wear their hair,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And so that brings authenticity right in focus for me. Because,
Absolutely.
you know,
Absolutely. So,
yeah,
and it's also a challenge of authenticity. It's something that pushes against the desire to show up and be our true self, right? All of a
yeah,
sudden we have all these other barriers in place. And whether it's that exact example, Karla, or your boss telling you you can or can't be who you truly are in the workplace. What do
hmm,
we do? How do we be authentic? How do we be vulnerable and real? How do we maintain our values in an environment that pushes against that, right? That's all
absolutely.
little pieces of the topic. And it's so important to understand so we're able to be our best version of us and navigate the world. Otherwise, we're wearing masks, and that's not
Absolutely.
authenticity. It's not
Yeah.
authenticity.
Yeah. So, I'll just start at the top, and you kind of already alluded to it, but what would be your definition of authenticity, and whether you
Yeah.
have a different one for inside the workplace?
Yeah. Well, thank you for asking. When I was brainstorming and thinking of the word authenticity, it's a big loaded word, right? I think for me, Karla, and it's personal, it's me being authentic in my personal and professional world. I think it's true to self, no matter what the environment or circumstance is telling you. So it brought to mind a really beautiful quote by Michael Jordan. So Mari, if you don't mind pulling that up, I think that's a really good visual for how I think of authenticity. Authenticity is about being true to who you are, even when everyone around you wants you to be someone else. They
Mm,
want you to show up as their version of who they think you are. So to me, that quote summarizes all of it. And you and Hubert during the live, for those of you in the room, if you missed it yesterday, please go back and watch. Hubert and Karla talked a little bit about this and started to dangle the carrot, and my wheels were just spinning and spinning. And I really appreciated that conversation, because authenticity is really mourning the loss of who we think we're supposed to be and embracing who we are becoming to be
mm,
our best true self. That is what authenticity is to Krista. Now,
love that.
I would love to hand the mic over to you, Karla. Authenticity is different for each of us, right? Every single
Absolutely.
one of us.
Absolutely.
What is it for you? What does authenticity mean?
Being able to show up fully in your personal context,
Yeah.
right? Like being able to bring your entire self to the space. And for me, as we're having this Workplace Wednesday conversation, being able to bring your full self to the workplace.
Yeah.
And it necessarily raises attention, right? Uh, you know, it's this idea of, do you really want to let it all hang out in the workplace? Um, there's not always a time and a place or a space for every thought or feeling that you have.
Yeah.
When we have gathered here together for a particular purpose, right, to achieve a particular objective, right? Maybe this isn't the moment, right? But I tell you what, you've got to find time and space to bring more of yourself into your workplace. And Krista, I'm obsessed with the why behind the what, right? So we've talked about
100%.
we've talked about what we think authenticity is. But my big why for why it's so important to be authentic, well, the alternative is to be exhausted.
Yeah.
The alternative is to spend an extraordinary amount of wasted energy performing. You
Yes.
know, I don't know if you've ever been in a play, for example.
Yeah.
You have to learn the lines. You got to do a lot of practice before you get there to learn the lines. You're nervous under the spotlight the entire time that you're up there,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
then after you leave the stage, you are constantly rehearsing. Did I do it right? Did I get it right? Right?
Yes.
Ooh, I missed that one.
Yeah.
Let's take that performance model into your everyday life,
Yeah.
right? If you're not being authentic at work, you're doing this talk to get yourself geared up to perform,
Yeah.
this fake facade all day, right? So you
Yeah.
use energy. And now you're on stage under this spotlight at work, feeling like everybody can see you and they might think you're a fraud, right? And that's exhausting, sweating bullets, okay? And you get nervous and you might screw up. And then you leave the office and you replay everything that happened, right? And whether you perform right or whether they might have seen one of the wrinkles or stitches or mistakes that you made, and that is exhausting. That
Yeah.
is the point,
100%. 100. And Karla, I've got a million things happening in my brain right now. This comes from my HR experience. So I've got 16 years in the HR world before I stepped into doing this. It's honestly, I saw so many time after time after time after time during interviews, during all individuals are coming into a space and they are performing as to who they think that you want them to be.
Yeah.
And then if they step into the organization with a mask on their face and then they start to show up as who they are, sometimes that is not the right fit for that organization. And
Yes.
it causes strain and it causes stress and there's breakdowns. I see it time after time in the workplace with leaders that step into a meeting and they preform and say the words that they think that their audience wants to hear, but they're not being authentic and they're not
Hmm.
being exposing their scar tissue and they're not being vulnerable and they're not being true to themselves and saying, you know what, yeah, we're not hitting our numbers and this is making me feel really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
That's being authentic and real. Instead, they're saying everything's great, we're going to kill it, we're doing great, don't worry. That's unauthentic, right? So
Hmm.
I see the performance aspect, and I so appreciate you bringing that to this conversation
Yeah.
because we are not meant to perform in our lives. We are meant to show up as our true beings. Like
Absolutely.
we get one shot. We have one life. At the end of mine, I don't want to look and think like, dang it, I should have taken my mask off. No one actually
Yes.
got to experience Krista Ryan. I was acting as the world wanted me to, not as who I am. So
Exactly.
I think that is just, we're not meant to be performers.
Hmm.
We are meant to be authentic individuals.
Absolutely. So, the first risk I identified was this exhaustion, right?
Yeah.
And, I'm big on this idea that the body keeps score. You might be able to keep up with that performance, but for so long,
Yeah.
you might think you're hiding from others, but your mind, body, and spirit is going to suffer behind that
Mm-hmm.
by the additional load of effort that you have to put behind keeping that up, right?
Yeah.
And then you talk about regret feeling inside of you, man, when I look back, I didn't spend time being myself, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Significant risk. It really is, right? And then I
Yeah.
think a third risk is you never give your best.
Yes.
You never give yourself the opportunity to put it all out on the table and actually win, right?
100%. Yes. Yes.
That curated performed version of you is less than your gift. It's
Yeah.
less than what you were designed to be. So
And
it's
you're
it's
working 10 times as hard because
yes.
you're working at becoming someone you're never intended to be.
Yeah.
It's like if I work so hard, Karla, because I want to step in and be like Karla, it is not possible. I was never put on this earth to be like Karla. Karla is supposed to be Karla.
Yeah.
I think that's what the beauty of the workplace Wednesday conversation too is we can all be on the same journey, right?
Hmm.
So we are everyone listening to this, everyone involved with Limitless Minds, we are all on the same journey together. We are so connected. We're interwoven into the same cloth, right? We're forming the same patterns, but we're unique threads. If we were all the same, it would be, an SHIT show. It would not work. It would not be what it's intended to be. So I think that authenticity and being who we're meant to be is just like the key to
Yeah.
happiness, joy, success, and fulfillment.
Absolutely. All right, so I'm letting go of my why behind the what. Okay, we've covered it thoroughly. People have, at least three risks, right, that they face by not being authentic. So
Yeah.
now I want to talk about how we can show up authentically. Like, how do we pull out our very best self? Because um you might think it would be easy to be yourself.
Yeah.
But so many of us have been spending time studying someone in real life or on
Yeah.
TV, right?
Yeah.
Patterning our life behind them. I think it's valuable to have a mentor, right?
Yeah.
But maybe you miss the fact that you weren't supposed to be their replica, right?
100%. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So for all these different reasons, people find it difficult to be authentic. Maybe they feel like, there's a huge risk. Like no one's actually going to like the real me. They're not going to want me around here. And even you said it, I faked my way into this situation.
Yep.
Now I'm being my real self and everybody realizes it's not a fit, right?
Yeah.
So how can we show up authentically in your book? And as you're thinking about your first point on that, Lane says leaders should have no choice but to create trusting environments where people can be authentic.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
that Layton's comment right there just leads into my first thing. I cannot be authentic without being vulnerable. I
Mm,
cannot. I have to expose my scar tissue. I have to show all of my imperfections,
mhm,
because if I am showing up authentic, it's so imperfect. I am
mhm,
a work in progress always. When people give me feedback and they say, "Oh, Krista, I wish I had your job. I wish I had your family. I wish I had your children. I wish I," that cuts, because I think don't wish something that is someone else's, right? Like,
mhm,
being, for me, authenticity is vulnerability and imperfection. And I'm going to just do it right now for all of you watching and listening. So you, Karla, you mentioned that the body keeps score. It
mm,
keeps track, right?
mhm,
One of my biggest red flags for when I'm not being authentic to myself is my body starts to break down. It
mm,
responds and it gives me a whole, hold on, Krista, what's going on?
mm.
So I've been under extreme stress, self imposed stress, and my body, I don't know if you can still see this, broke out into massive hives,
Oh,
like
wow. Yeah.
all over. So I actually went to the doctor 2 days ago. I'm like, I don't know if I'm allergic, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, these are stress hives. This is your body telling you something is happening in your world, that it's showing up to support you so that you can figure out how to slow down.
Mm,
So I had to take a moment of pause, Karla, and be like, hold on, Krista, you've been telling yourself that you're navigating everything okay, you're fine, you're fine. And in essence, I was like, ooh, I really do need to take a pause, be authentic to myself, be vulnerable, and actually reach out for support. So I did.
mm.
And now everything is like clearing up. My mind is freeing. I'm taking off a week, for the lake. I'm understanding that that's my next best step. But this is me showing my imperfections and my authenticity so I can be myself, my best version of myself. And only through that can I support others.
Krista, officially the GOAT. Officially the GOAT. Right here on this live, she demonstrates authenticity through vulnerability. Oh my gosh. And doubles down on my body keeps score point. My
Yes,
God. Thank you for that gift. Thank you for the
absolutely.
absolute gift of sharing that with us. I know it's not comfortable, both the rash and sharing it, right? But
Oh,
that,
yeah.
oh my gosh,
And
you just
it's
up the
it's
ante
so
right now.
important. It's just so important to be honest with ourselves. I kept
Yeah,
saying, like, I'm okay, I'm okay. And I'm like, no, what? I'm not. I'm super
yeah,
stressed out. I had a couple breakdowns professionally,
yeah,
and my book is on pause because the company went under. And
yeah.
it's just been a lot of extreme stress. And I've been telling others that I'm okay, I'm okay. But my body's like, you're saying that, but you're not feeling that. So now I'm working on
Yes,
the feeling that, and I'm being authentic and I'm being true. And
yes,
now I'm actually, the body keeps score. And now the body's
yes.
healing, Karla. So
Oh, wow.
I think it's
Wow.
so interwoven. Authenticity has to happen through vulnerability. The
Hmm.
end result of that is a deeper level of trust within myself and others. Because
Mm,
when I can be authentic and vulnerable, I trust myself better.
I
And
love that.
others start to look at me and say, you know what? You just shared something that was vulnerable and but authentically you, and I trust you.
Krista, I didn't know you were going to do it right here on this live. I was going to refer people to your LinkedIn profile for some incredibly authentic, vulnerable, transparent posts that have grabbed my whole heart in the
Oh,
last, couple weeks and months. I mean, wow, playbook on being authentic and doing it in a very public space, which just makes us all want more of you, you know. And so that's one of the things people need to remember. Like, you think that hiding behind this mask, not being authentic, not showing up your real self, is protecting you from the risk of people hating you or whatever, when in reality, it is blocking you from the possibility of them absolutely loving you and
right.
loving you more, right? And
And
loving
and
you
Karla,
deeper.
we're not supposed to be everyone's ideal
Cup of tea.
person. We
Yeah.
can't be everyone's cup of tea. And that's me
Yeah.
being authentic and being, you know
Yeah.
what? I might not be your cup of tea, but I'm someone's cup of tea. And most importantly, I'm my cup of tea. So if I had to let go of that mask of being
Mm-hmm.
the perfect fit for everybody and
Yeah.
step in with being authentic to myself, and that may fit in some people's puzzle and it might not fit in others.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that would be my challenge for anyone watching, is in the workplace, how are you showing up as your authentic version of self
Yeah.
to really encourage others to do the same? Because that is that is the that is the life source, right? That is our
Mm-hmm.
oxygen mask, is allowing
Yes.
space for all of us to live life vulnerably, authentically, and therefore deeper. None of this surface relationships. We have an opportunity to live a deeper life together.
Absolutely. Okay, so I'll follow you, right? So the highs,
Mhm.
before we move, past authenticity requires vulnerability. The hives showed up physically for you. For me, right? From
Yeah,
childhood, it's shown up in my throat. I've gotten tightness in my throat. I can literally feel it. Now, before I was brought into consciousness and awareness, I just walked around like that.
yeah,
Right. But then I went through vocal therapy. I've been a singer and speaker since I was a little kid.
yeah,
So I ended up with vocal nodules. And through speech therapy, I was able to start to manage these muscles differently. Right. And now, that I have awareness here, my center of vulnerability, fear, recognizing that I'm not quite being authentic and I'm trying to just hold it together, is moved to my stomach.
okay,
So that pain or that angst, right? I can
yeah,
feel it there first, and then third, it'll move to my shoulders, and I'll end up out of alignment. And sometimes by the time I notice, it's a right foot pain, left knee pain, right hip pain, right?
yeah. It's
And the
moving through your
chiropractor's got to
body.
right. And the chiropractor's got to put it back together, right?
Yeah,
But just so you can hear it, right? Shoulders tightening is going to impact the way everything else moves,
yeah,
you know? I literally will have a full body of pain,
yeah,
just from holding in authenticity, the stress of authenticity
yes,
here in my shoulders,
yes.
you know? So anyway, it
It's
matters.
awareness. It's
Yeah.
awareness.
Yeah.
And had I been honest with myself, I could have prevented this from happening, gotten to this level for sure, because I've been tight in my neck. So tight. That's where all my stress starts, and then in my gut. And I
Mm-hmm.
was ignoring, pushing through. I'm fine, I'm fine. And my body finally just said, whoop, nope, you're not. And this is
Yep.
how we're gonna make you be fine. You gotta be
Yep.
aware of it. So
And there are plenty enough external stressors, things that
yep,
are happening beyond our control.
yeah.
Why add faking and wearing a mask on top of that? You
Why
know,
sabotage yourself? Why are we
exactly.
doing that? So
Exactly.
here's a question. Let's touch on that for a few minutes. What can we do in the workplace to show up? What does it look like? Like if I'm, when I say a leader, anyone listening, when I use the word leader, I'm talking anyone in a workplace. We all have the ability to be a leader in our working world. I'm not talking C-suite. I'm not talking you have to manage people. You're a leader in your workplace. It's
Yeah.
already done. You're there. So when you are a leader in your workplace, how can you show up as an authentic leader? What can you do to gift that to others? What would
That's
your like top two be, Karla?
That's it. The gifting part,
Mhm.
man, right? Again, on the why are we doing this? You are freeing up others to be more of themselves.
Yeah.
Please show up to work and give people that gift of being more of themselves. So, I'm going to frame this around three things very quickly. And I'm going to do mind, body, and spirit because that's just what I do. That's where I live as an
Yeah.
executive wellness mindset coach, right?
Yeah.
So, in your mind, bring your brilliant self to work. Do not hide your ideas, right? Do not hide the way you're thinking about things. And I think one of the points you talked about, um, when we were preparing for this was hiding your fears or your uncertainties,
Yeah.
hiding your questions. I've worked with so many women who refuse to ask questions because asking a question is evidence that you don't know, which makes you feel stupid, right? Well,
Yeah.
instead, asking a question is your opportunity to get access to information that levels you up,
Yes.
right? But it's
Yes.
inauthentic if you don't allow people to see your mind, the
Yes.
way it works, and the beauty thereof, right? Your spirit, that's energy, right? We can always talk about religion and faith. I really want to talk to everybody on the planet about energy and how we are all energy and how we're exchanging it with others. And
Yeah.
oftentimes, inauthenticity comes across as guarded energy. And
Yes.
I think it's really popular right now on Instagram to say, I'm protecting my energy, right? I
Yeah.
love protecting my energy, but guarded energy comes across as negative energy, heavy
Yeah.
energy,
Yeah.
right? It's one
Yeah.
thing to protect your peace, but guarded, right, actually creates a barrier that um, is heavy for everyone, you know?
That
So
that reminds me so much, Carla. I'm working with someone right now, and the way he shows up in the workplace is so different than the way he shows up with his best friends and family and those he loves. And I said, what if you brought the version that you gift those that you are closest to, that you love, that they see this really fun spirited, open, engaged human, and then you go to work and every blockade, every barrier goes up, the wall goes up, and you
mhm,
don't smile, and you've got this really robotic way about you. Said, what if you
mhm,
brought your authentic self? You're not putting on the mask anymore. What if you showed up as that? And he started to act through that and pretend like his coworkers were his family and friends. And I'm telling you, it was a game changer. He's like, I
wow.
enjoy my job. They're enjoying me as a person. I don't feel so tired anymore,
Yeah.
faking and pretending and being scared of who I truly am. To
Mhm,
that point, he stopped hiding and he allowed
mhm.
his spirit to come through and he exposed it to others. So, oh, it just
Yes.
that energy, it just gives me the chills. It's just so
Yes.
important.
Yes.
Mhm.
Because we're constantly exchanging energy with
Yes.
people, and if we're not letting them see the full light in us,
Yeah.
right? Our authentic energy, that's actually a negative experience. It's negative energy going out. And you might
Yes.
not have even realized that, but it is. People can feel that. And then
Oh,
finally, body, right?
yeah.
So mind, body, spirit. Okay, I talked about spirit first, but body,
Yes. Yes.
right? Um, like this is about how you walk, how you talk, what
Yeah.
you're wearing, how you're wearing your hair, you
Yeah.
know, even your jewelry, what you do with your hands, right?
Yeah.
Wanting you to be fully in the space and take up space, especially ladies, take up some space,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Take up more of it. But then also, um, showing value for your own body. This is something that I had to learn, right? I saw other people modeling it and I thought I would be judged. I saw a junior person, someone junior to me at my firm saying, "No problem, reply all." It was, "No problem. I'll get to that as soon as I'm done walking the dog."
Yeah.
Right? And
Yeah.
I was like, I could never get away with that, right? But he was advanced and promoted.
Yeah.
Everything went over fine. He
Yeah.
was authentically showing I have someone else in my life that I care about,
Yeah.
and I care about me. This is exercise.
Yeah.
And so we talk about being authentic, about taking care of your body, the investments you're making in it. That frees up other people to feel safe to do that as well. So,
Oh,
yeah.
I love all of them. I love all of them. They touched on my top three. All of that just summarized it perfectly. Mine were definitely vulnerable leadership. We've already talked about that, how to show up
Mhm.
vulnerably, expose a little piece of yourself. Now, vulnerability and that leadership exposure to me does not mean verbally vent and dump your whole life story. That's not what I'm
Mhm.
talking about. I'm talking about share a little piece of you, share a little bit of who you are, right? Um, I love the naming it to tame it. Talk about how you're feeling about something. A project goes south. Say, you know what? I'm feeling really uneasy about this, you guys.
Mhm.
Let's talk about this. I'm feeling really nervous in the moment. I'm feeling really stressed out. I'm pretending I'm not, but this is true to me. And then boundaries, knowing my boundaries and being authentic to them. And I love that walking the dog example, because if that's a boundary, I'm going to be my best self. If I go out and get some fresh air right now and walk this dog, exposing that so others can be like, ooh, interesting. They just expose their boundary and what works for them. Maybe I can
Yeah,
be challenged to do the same. Like,
absolutely.
oh, it's all amazing. So here's my challenge to those of you listening or in the chat. How can you show up in a more authentic version of yourself today? What's one thing? I mean, just think about that question. What is one thing that you can do? I didn't even know I was going to get on this and show you all my rash, but that happened.
I love it. That was the power play today, Krista.
There we go. Yeah. So let's set the intention. How can you have that intention of showing up in a more authentic way just for today? So take that question with you. And Karla, I'll answer it real quick because I know we're at the top of the hour, but for me, I'm going to expose this breakdown with my family. I've never even told them. They know I've got hives. They don't even know why. So I'm going to be authentic and show them, you know what, your body keeps track. And if there's anything that we can talk about, let's do it. And that's going to be my authenticity action step for today. How about you?
Oh, I love that. I'm going to show my kids that mom's not perfect. Again, I'm spending a week with littles and they're going to see mom's not perfect. I'm not going to act crazy, but I'm going to walk them through, right? I'm going to walk them through different challenges, like making breakfast this morning. That was one of the things. So,
I love it.
anyway,
I
thanks
love it.
everyone for who joined us live today. This has been amazing. If you catch the replay, drop a hashtag replay. We'd love to know. We've got colleagues who are showing up here tomorrow, same time, same place, 11:30 Central, 12:30 Eastern. And be sure to download the Club Limitless app, which is full of great resources, awesome room tilters like Krista, who are sharing, and there are great teams, in corporate teams, sales teams that are getting great benefit out of this and this program. So make sure you follow up and tap in and have an amazing day. God bless
Absolutely.
you.
Eat some hot dogs. Thanks, Karla. Have a great day, everyone.